Hello, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your Christmas vacation. You know, we still are in the Christmas season. It lasts until the 6th, so we still have a few more days. Well, in this video today, I am going to, by the way, I'm taking out my Remington hot rollers to see how they're working today. And it's been doing nothing but raining, it seems, ever since right after Christmas. So the hair kind of falls kind of limp these days. But in this video today, we're going to discuss a couple of things. Maybe you'll learn some new things. Maybe you know more about these things than I do. But I'm going to talk about the rosemary bush blooming in January or the end of December, at least my rosemary bush by my front door. And there are lots of legends, folklore, Christian religious beliefs about the herb rosemary and the blue flowers that bloom in December. And I'll talk about those for a while. Also going to talk about, up here, I told you that we have our 12 days of Christmas that we've had for 25 years that Debbie gave us. And you all know the song. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me. You know that song. Well, I know the origin of it. I've looked it up. It's a fascinating little history, and I think you'll enjoy that. I also have some things to show you that the kids and I, well, little Mikey and Colleen, who were 4 and 5 at the time that we painted these, and these are ceramic, and I was in my ceramic phase then too, I guess. And I'm going to talk about these and the interesting facts involved in these 12 days of Christmas, which coincide with the Christmas season beginning on Christmas Day and ending on the Epiphany, which also has religious Christian beliefs. When the rosemary bush blooms blue flowers, and I just noticed them a couple days ago. Rosemary is fidelity, love, and remembrance. Now, there is a legend that when Mary and Joseph and Jesus were fleeing to Egypt, they stopped by a river, and Mary was washing Jesus's clothes, and she laid them on a nearby rosemary bush, and the bush bloomed blue flowers. Do any of your bushes bloom right now in the winter, in the middle of the winter? I would love it if you told me. There's also one legend that I hate to mention. It's folklore in front of Moosey. But if you have a rosemary bush by your garden gate or by your door, and it blooms blue flowers in the winter, it means that the woman of the house rules the roost. What do you think, Mose? He's not responding to that one, friends. So I will close this for a minute here. Oh, as I was saying, Matthew just left. Now I can make the pea soup. I've been in a cooking mode lately, and I have been craving soups. I didn't want to make a soup because I kept thinking the ham bone was coming, but Matt was also going to do some gardening, planting some bulbs for Moosey, but it kept raining, so bringing up the ham bone kept being delayed. But I want to, so I'm going to make my pea soup tomorrow, and I will video it with you because I know some of you are loving pea soup. So what I made last night, and I must tell you about this. We didn't know what to have to eat last night. It's been chilly and rainy, and we're looking forward to soup. And Moose said, find some of those soups out there and doll them up and combine them or whatever. He was talking about canned soups. Well, I looked in my arsenal of canned soups, and I did find a couple French onion. Well, I never use the French onion soup as such. I always do big things with it. So I decided to do it in a big pot on the stove, and I found 3 cans and I dumped them in. And you never get enough onions in onion soup, but the basic I think it's Campbell or Progresso that I used, did have a good French onion smell to it, and the liquid was nice, and it had some thickness to it too. So I took a great big onion and I sauteed it, got it all sauteed in butter, and then I poured the soups in with the onion and the butter going in the big pot. And then I found a big brick of mozzarella cheese, and I started to slice it with my slicer. So I got big solid slices, not skinny little shaves. And I still had a big fat French loaf of bread left over from our fondue supper. So it was still nice and soft because I preserved it, thank heavens. And I sliced some and got some nice rounds about that big. When I have these nice big wide soup bowls, when I poured all the onions and the soup in there, so thick and good, I took 2 big pieces of the rounded French bread and I floated those on top, and then I started to put the shavings of mozzarella cheese in there. Oh, I know this sounds terrible for those of you that don't eat like this.
Over here.
I know. I'm making you hungry, Moots, huh?
Yeah.
So I pushed some of it down into the bowl so that when you would take a nice mouthful of soup, you'd get the mozzarella cheese in there too. And then I put on top of the French bread the big slices, and I kind of mushed it down. It was boiling hot, so right away the cheese melted and I served them. With a delicious glass of ruby port. Oh, weren't those bowls of soup fabulous?
You're making me crazy, I told you.
Oh, I could have had 2 bowls, but I was being very good. I only had 1 bowl with the French bread. We did have 1 piece of French bread on the side. So we've been kind of in a soupy mode. And what else? Did I start another soup? Oh no, today. So early this morning, I remembered that I had promised to make Brendan my cold pasta salad that he absolutely loves. And he's been home from college for the Christmas vacation, and I think he has probably, well, he has to go back next week, so we're getting there. And I said, okay, I'll have it to you. So I started that. Now, I have made that on camera for you several times. I did do it again only because it is so good. I used 2 boxes of tricolor rotini pasta, some zesty Italian for the dressing, along with some ranch and some olive oil mayo. Now the cheese is Colby Jack, lots of celery, lots of onions, that's my roux, and I cut up a bunch of black olives and the cheese into tiny. Pasta cooks. I run it under cold water until it's nice and cold. Now here's my roux. Lots of celery chopped up, lots of onions chopped up. I use a nice great big pan, and I have my olives and my cheese ready to go in here, and we're ready to start putting a little pasta in, and I start mixing with the 3 elements for the sauce. Mayo is the main ingredient, and I put lots of that in. I'm trying to squeeze with 1 hand here. A little bit of ranch. Keep adding pasta and mixing a little more mayonnaise at a time. And remember, I had 2 boxes, so it's going to be 1 big giant bowl, of which I will keep some. Now for spices, I'm looking for my dill. I might be out of dill, but I do love to put dill in. So a little bit of garlic powder, basil, Italian seasoning, some thyme. You put whatever you like. With my new pepper grinder, and I'm going to put some pepper in right now. And that's what's going to give it some zing. This works so beautifully, and I can get the large little peppers or the small ones. So good. Love this. Moosey gave it to me for Christmas. Lammy loves the pasta, and it's going up to Brendan. He has a couple more days before he goes back to college. Normally I would put some pepperoni in, but I didn't have the pepperoni. But since his dad does make pizzas, they have a pizza oven, I was hoping maybe they had some pepperoni, so he can always put some of that in. But my sauce is a mixture of some zesty Italian to give it a little kick. And then I use a lot of mayo, my olive oil mayo, and a little bit of ranch if I have it. And then the spices, you'll see. I put some quick pics of what I've done for the salad, just in case any of you have not seen it and wanted to make it. Isn't that an interesting story about Rosemary? I don't know whether I was able to ask you, the guys were chatting away here, but do you have any rosemary bushes that are blooming right now? Look at those flowers. When they first come out, they're kind of white and then they turn blue. And they're just so beautiful. Look at them. They're a bluish purple. So many legends about them. I particularly love the legends about why it flowers at Christmas time with the birth of Jesus, but that's me. But it's a great herb, and I probably should throw some of this in my soups and things too. It's a great herb. So tell me if you have any rosemary bushes that flower during the Christmas season like I do. Traditionally, they're not supposed to. I just guess it does depend a lot on the environment and the weather and all that too. Okay, now the other thing that I want to talk to you about is up there over the doorway to the bedroom, my 12 days of Christmas. And they hang from a board that Debbie made and gave us these ornaments 25 years ago. And each ornament is one of the days of the 12 days of Christmas. And we leave that up all year long. Well, I want to talk about that for a minute because many years ago, and I just got the bag out of my box of ornaments and things. I don't hang these because I never finished putting all the things in them. But it says 1979, 12 Days of Christmas. And that's when we painted these. I remember sitting in the kitchen on this great big table of our family home at that time. Colleen was born in 1976. Mikey was born in 1975. But we still had all the other four kids too, who were, some were just teenagers and some were teens. And I think we were all involved in painting these. And I'm going to show you a couple of these ornaments that at that time we did. Now these are ceramic, and I must have bought them at a ceramic store, unpainted. And you go ahead and paint them. Now this one is the pipers playing. Nope, these are 10 lords a-leaping. And I'm sure Mikey and Colleen didn't paint these being 4 and 5 years old, but I know they were painting something at the time. We did have a big ceramic Santa that I think they put their efforts into. And the kids helped me do this. As a matter of fact, I'm sure I did most of them. This was 11 pipers piping. Aren't these gorgeous? And then the 3 hens a-laying. Now this one had broken through the years. I did hang them at some point because I have all the ribbons here too, which is kind of hard to get them out. But this one we had to glue. 4 calling birds. And I sort of antique them, as you can see. And I love my and a partridge in a pear tree. So I had all these, and I just wanted to show you some of them. You all are familiar with the song, I'm sure. And I looked up the song the other day, because we were talking about the 12 days of Christmas and the fact that the Christmas season ends on the 6th of January, which is the Epiphany, and which traditionally it is said that that's the date that the wise men arrived at the place of Jesus's birth and met Jesus. Now, there's a lot of different opinions on how long it took, because the wise men were about 100 miles away from Bethlehem when they saw the star. And they claim that there's many claims that Jesus was possibly about 2 years old by the time the wise men found them. But at any rate, with all the speculation, January 6th is the Christian date of the Epiphany. And I looked up the significance of the song. And all of these birds, the first seven of the days are all different kinds of birds, chickens and partridge and various other birds. So there must be some significance and symbolism of birds attached to all this. But this all goes back to 1780, I believe, when the first idea of the 12 days of Christmas and this song started to, well, it wasn't a song, but it was symbolisms that were made up perhaps for children as a children's song. But then in 1909, a man by the name of Ferdinand Austin wrote and created this song, The 12 Days of Christmas. And people have been singing it at Christmas ever since. And there's all sorts of ornaments and Christmas decorations that go along with all this. Well, I have sung this many times. I remember Debbie had Moosey and I over to her hospital for a Christmas celebration of her staff. We went, and we had to get up, certain of us, and sing this song. And I was involved in that. So you have to remember it. Well, Ferdinand created it as a memory game for children because of the repetitive verses that go over and over and over again. And I thought, that makes sense to me. But then in 2021, someone, I don't know who this was, because probably he had nothing else to do. We were all in the beginning of COVID kind of just packed up in our homes. Maybe it was 2020, but he did this in 2021. He decided to summarize the cost of all of these birds, buying the birds and hiring the dancers and the pipers and everybody, what it would have cost, totaling how many times it was repeated over. And he came up with each day, not each day, well, they all had different times, but there were 364 times that these were mentioned, these different days were mentioned because of the repetition. And he came up with a cost of $179,000, 40 cents and a penny left over or something or other. And the most expensive of all of them was the 7 swans swimming. For some reason or other, buying the swans must have been extremely expensive. Now, the maids are leaping and the dancers dancing, and the pipers probably weren't working at the time. No, the pipers, I think they had to hire, and he estimated the cost of the pipers. But the dancers and the maids probably were not working at the time because the Broadway shows were all closed, and all the dancers that might have been working during COVID were on a layoff of some kind. So that was one of the funniest articles that I read. And he went on and on explaining what costs what and how far he'd had to go to acquire all of these different things. Anyway, it's just a little item that I thought you'd get a kick out of. Sometimes you learn some new things, which I enjoy all the time. And whether or not it's true or not, it still is interesting, especially a lot of the folklore attached to Rosemary. Look up Rosemary at Christmas and see what you get. By the way, getting back to the curlers in my 3-day-old hair here, I just put a little bit of spray on before I put the hot rollers in, and I do like what it did. I'm at the point where I'm thinking about cutting my hair, but if the hot rollers do such a nice job of curling them when I'm not doing a scrunch, I think I'll keep them. I've also ordered a couple of new makeup things that I'm going to talk about the next time. I feel that my face has been coming out too chalky, too light, and I need, my shine's not working. I want my face to be a bit more dewy, and I have found 2 things on Tamara's channel, my friend Tamara, who just knows so much about, she just did a video on her top favorite foundation. So with that, I think that might be all I wanted to say. You know, thank you so much, all of you, for all the stories that you told me about losing things. I had a couple that I wanted to tell you about. I hope you all read all the stories that people related when they heard about me having lost my folio. And by the way, before I even go out, tomorrow we do have to go out. I have to get a calendar before I go crazy. I'm lost without my calendar and my watch. I just can't get by without them. Oh, I can't remember the ones I wanted to tell you about, but go back and read them. Some are absolutely fascinating. Several of you were not lucky in the end. I have had 2 of those episodes way back years ago where I did not recover a purse one time and another change purse with money in it and a charm bracelet my parents had given me. I was outside Disneyland. I had taken the kids to Disneyland that day. And at that time, they had phone booths on the street. We didn't have cell phones. And I stopped the car to call Moose and tell him when we'd be home. And to get change out of my purse to put into this phone to call Moose, I had to go in. I just took my change purse. And in there, I also had a beautiful sapphire ring that Moose had bought me in Scotland. That was in there, too. I took that off that day for some reason or other. When I left the change purse right there, and we drove about 10 minutes, and I remembered that it was there. We went back, and someone had taken it, and there was no way to return it. So whether it was a good Samaritan or not, he couldn't have returned it to me because there was no identification. But anyway, thank you for all your stories. I just enjoy your stories, as I hope you enjoy mine. So I hope you're all having a good new year. And Moosey and I did receive some lovely gifts. And one of them in the next video, it's a matching gift, matchy, Moose and I. We are both going to appear and show you this gift that Debbie picked up for us when she and Barry were on their trip all throughout New England a month or 2 ago. So I'm trying to find my notes here, but you know me, everything's all over this table. I hope that everyone is enjoying their Christmas season, and we will be seeing you in a few more days. We love you all. God bless us all.